Entitles me?
Yes.
Entitles me?
Yes.
Entitles me?
Yes. Man can afford to go with the flow. You get me?
And remember to subscribe.
Next up, MaXXXine. Ty West directed the third installment. I think it's the final film in this trilogy, where it goes X, Pearl, and now MaXXXine. Horror trilogy, slasher, pastiche, Dario Argento pastiche, all that kind of jazz. Alfred Hitchcock. I enjoyed watching this, and it's well made. I just don't really care for it in retrospect. Like, it's fine. Maya Goth is really good in it. Once again, she's in all three of these films. It is a sequel to X, but I don't really remember that much from X. I'm not that invested in this narrative. I think it is the weakest of the trilogy. X was simple but fun. Pearl was elevated by that amazing monologue at the end, just some of the best acting of that year by Maya Goth. And also, it was just a great character study. Like, Pearl's definitely the best by far. This was just more so about pastiche, and I'm kind of sick of 70s or 80s pastiche about slasher films. Every kind of movie is like romanticizing past films. This trilogy also at times tackles themes about how Hollywood treated women in the past. The best showcase of that thematic storytelling is in Pearl. That's when it's at its most interesting, its most poignant, subtle. Here it's not that present. It's there kind of a little bit as an afterthought. I wasn't watching MaXXXine going, oh, this is so poignant and profound. It was just like, okay, yeah, it's there. I'm sure other people got more out of this. I'm sure there's going to be like really cool video essays about this in the future, about how it like perfectly showcases all of these different aspects to female subjugation, female oppression in cinema and like in Hollywood. But for me, MaXXXine just wasn't that interesting. X was a simple, straightforward Friday the 13th homage, like a slasher film, but it did have a few, like one or two scenes where they discussed like the morality of horror, I believe, or the morality of porn, or something like that. So it did like have a cool dialogue about it, and also just the subject matter of them shooting a porno. It's just it tells its own story, really. I just preferred X and Pearl over this. This was just kind of okay, I don't know, but it's going in decent because it's not like bad or anything. Megalopolis is next. I reviewed this already. I'm gonna keep this brief, but it's one of the most interesting films of the year, but it's also quite agonising to sit through. It's not that entertaining. It does have a lot of moments that are in theory really funny and like so bad it's good, but I wouldn't recommend anyone watching this because the overall experience is just kind of a slog, because you're like, why is this so shit? Because like Francis Ford Coppola made this is his passion project, his dream project. Because the dialogue and acting is so awful and up its own ass, the characters are kind of alien weirdo freaks that have no personality or humour to them. They're all just fucking, it's freaky. It's actually freaky watching this because they're just like the fucking Adam Driver's main character, just like he's so odd. Aubrey Plaza, it's creepy. It's like the Uncanny Valley, just how they behave. Shia LaBeouf, oh god. I think there is a strong possibility that this is a big shitpost film. Like, this is a huge parody of the pretentious filmmaker's final swan song. I think that might have been what Francis Ford was doing here. Like, fuck it, I'm 95 or whatever. I think he's 85 actually, but I don't need to make any more movies. I made Godfather, I made Apocalypse Now, that's enough. That would be enough for me. If I'd made like just those two films, I'd be like, I've achieved everything I need to in the medium. Even though it wasn't necessarily the most unpleasant film of the year, it's so fundamentally broken it needs to go in terrible. It's not going in Todd Phillips though. I respect Megalopolis more than I do Joker 2, Folle à Deux, Electric Boogaloo. One positive about Megalopolis, there are a few visual odes to ancient cinematic techniques, like the visual techniques like crossfades and whatnot, superimposed images. Like, there are things in here that like remind you of the German Expressionist movement and all that. Apart from that, fucking shite. Now something a bit more upbeat, My Old Ass. This was much more of a fun time than Megalopolis. Watched it in the same cinema, I think. So My Old Ass is a indie coming-of-age adolescent drama starring Aubrey Plaza, but she's not the adolescent in it because she's like 50. Sorry, Aubrey Plaza, that's mean. It's about this young girl who's in the middle of her final summer vacation before she moves to college, or she goes to college. She's leaving her hometown. She's so excited about it. She's like, I'm done with this shithole. Her and her friends have a camping trip where they all take mushrooms, and on this trip she encounters her future self, played by Aubrey Plaza. So there is a supernatural element to it, but it doesn't take itself seriously. It's not like we're going to explain how this works. It's not like some Christopher Nolan film. It's about like the human element. It's about like the themes. But basically Aubrey Plaza's there, and she has this message of enjoy what you have right now, enjoy life, appreciate your family. Even though you're sick of your hometown, it's important to appreciate it while it's here, because, you know, parents aren't there forever, family isn't there forever, things change. So the film is basically just a dramatic, feel-good, almost teen drama, adolescent drama. It's a nice, brief, chilled out experience where you just absorb a simple story. It has got a good amount of weight to, a lot of tear-jerky moments. It's not like a light film. You could say this film's themes are typical and cheesy, but it's done in a way that's nice and like tasteful. It's not like some astronomically incredible landmark of cinema. It's just good. It's just nice little movie. Sad near the end. If you take your girlfriend, she'll probably cry. It's sort of got like a Fault in Our Stars vibe to it, but like good. I haven't seen Fault in Our Stars or whatever it's called. It's about emotions. It's not too like disturbing or anything. That's not like some dark fucking horror film. It would be a nice time. Yeah, go watch it if you haven't already. It's going in decent. Next up, Oddity. I think this was a Shudder original. It's a horror film. Another good horror film. Simple premise with a solid execution. Nice tone, nice brooding, ominous tone. I do like me 90-minute horrors. They're good for Saturday nights in. Unique premise, it stands out. The acting's really good. There's some occasional really good cinematography in here. It's clearly just the result of someone's creative idea. It's cool. I really like the pacing. It's very lethargic and drawn out, but it's never boring. I really like it when films can do that, because it proves that just I don't have ADHD.
You get me?
No, but it's very impressive when a film has a very slow pace and is interesting throughout. It's one of those horror films where it has to heavily rely on direction and atmosphere, and I love that as well. Only complaints, near the end there were a few illogical decisions made by the characters that sort of took me out. It kind of made it seem silly. But I liked it. It was a cool time. I'm going to put it in decent. Oddity, probably the best film in decent at the moment. I'll just say that. Maybe followed by Emilia Perez or MaXXXine. Okay, Paddington in Peru. A little mixed on this, because I did enjoy it for the most part. It was a nice theatre experience. Me watching it, a 25-year-old man on my own. That was cool. This is the third film in the trilogy of Paddington films. Definitely the weakest. It's nowhere near as charming or creative as the first two. It's not quite as magical or lively or as funny as the first two. It doesn't really need to exist. My favourite part of these films has always been like the live action actors pretending to be like really cartoonish, giving these really cartoonish performances. It's really charming, just like for the kids. You can clearly tell they're having fun with it. Really silly, really larger than life, hammy. It's really cool. It's really it's heartwarming. Fucking Hugh Bonneville in these, he's a fucking great lad. I love him. Antonio Banderas is another highlight in this. He's also just there doing like a really hammy, funny, eccentric performance. Yeah, Hugh Bonneville never fails to amuse me. As to where I'm going to put this, it's either in decent or mediocre. I think mediocre is kind of harsh. It doesn't really need to exist. I don't know. I'm such a miserable arsehole. Every film I see is like, it's alright, it's going in decent. Yeah, it's going in decent. It was good. It was nice. It was nice enough. The first two films have gorgeous, inspired production designs. This one didn't really have that. It kind of looked like the bland Uncharted film in certain areas. Okay, next up is Queer, Luca Guadagnino's second film of this year. When I was talking about challenges, I mentioned that Luca Guadagnino's style kind of rides that thin line between horny and profound, and this is like leads into my main grievances with Queer, because on one hand you could say it's this sensitive depiction of this gay romance or this gay character going on this introspective journey, but on the other it is sort of like got these elements of kind of this fanfic deviant art sort of, that's not a good example, but you know, Tumblr stuff. All of his films have these buff but petite young men in shorts, in like summer dressing, in polos or golf fucking shirts. He's definitely got a type, and it is a bit weird. Like, dude, you're not making a film just so you can get off. I thought this is supposed to be like a fucking sensitive film. Now, the relationship that's presented in Queer isn't like a likeable relationship because it's kind of surface level. It's this old dude sort of kind of lusting after this young guy who's not interested in him in any like profound way. The relationship does not feel meaningful at all. It kind of feels like it's a film about Daniel Craig pursuing all of the like his appetites in a way. Like, he's a heroin addict and he's also a sex addict probably. He's like an impulsive guy who doesn't really know what he wants, and that's probably what it's about, to be fair. That's why I'm conflicted. That's why I partially appreciate things it's doing, but I just don't know where Luca's head's at. What is this film? Is it a sensitive depiction of lust, or is it just a bunch of trite sex scenes? Is it just overly horny? Assuming that it is an intelligent, introspective film, there are other problems that I have with it. That being, you're out of sync with Daniel Craig's character. I didn't find him that interesting. I found the performance a bit too over the top. He wasn't a likeable dude, and maybe that's the point, but I just wish I was in his head more, I understood him a bit more. Maybe I'm just a fucking idiot, maybe I'm an unempathetic bastard. I wasn't surprised to see at the end that it was based on a novel, because it just strikes me as that kind of film. I can imagine a novel version of this working much better, where you get to see and read about all of the character's thoughts and all of his musings and whatnot. He's probably way more three-dimensional in the book. I guess it just doesn't translate that well for me cinematically. Pacing wise, it's quite meandering. There are a lot of repetitive scenes that don't really add much. A lot of scenes of Daniel Craig walking through the same street in this somber way. I think there are other themes in here that are probably more pungent in the book, but here it's kind of buried under all of this cryptic symbolism, which is kind of cool. I saw someone call this like the 2001 A Space Odyssey of gay romantic films, and that's kind of apt. There's a lot of experimental imagery in here. I just didn't connect with the characters, and I don't know where Luca's head is at once again. Because I know he's a thirsty, horny boy. And again, it has a very lethargic pace. If you aren't interested in these characters, it's really gonna be a slog for you. It's either going in mediocre or decent. I'm very conflicted. I don't know. I think wasted potential, to be fair, that's good. That helps me out a bit. That makes me feel better. Yeah, wasted potential just because it should have been better. Luca Guadagnino, you know, all that. Some people do love it though. It's one of those films, so you should still check it out if you're interested. Yeah, just didn't really appeal to me in the slightest. Maybe because I'm not gay. Ha ha ha. Okay, now we have Rap World. This is a very low budget film, at least I assume. It was like fucking shot on a camcorder from 2008. I heard about this through YMS, so it must have played at certain festivals, but this film is actually available on YouTube for free. It's only like 50 minutes, so go watch it. It's a mockumentary that follows this band over the course of one night as they try and record this rap album that they've been putting off for a while. And it's just a comedy about the shenanigans they get up to and all the shit they say. Kind of like a hangout film, kind of like one of those, almost like Project X maybe. It's set in 2009, and so it's presented much like a vlog from that year, and it's kind of nostalgic and cozy. Obviously the characters and the friendships feel really authentic and personal, so it's quite nice. The humour's obviously quite unique to them. It's not like trite Hollywood crap. I don't know what else to say. It's funny, it's nice, it's cozy, it's kind of nostalgic, and it's 50 minutes, so yeah, go watch it. I'm putting it in decent. It kind of reminded me of early Trailer Park Boys. That's kind of a good comparison, actually. That's sort of the vibe it is going for. It's simple, but it's super enjoyable, and I'm like a big sucker for mockumentaries anyway. I find them really kind of, I don't know, absorbing, comforting. Oh. Next up is Rebel Ridge. This is a really good film directed by the guy who made Blue Ruin and Green Room. They're both really good films. I can't remember his name right now, but yeah. This is a fairly simple action thriller. It's on Netflix. It goes on for about 2 hours, but because the plot is so tight and complex and just has so much depth to it, it elevates the overall quality of this film because the narrative, the writing's so good. I think of all the films I've seen this year, this has the thickest plot. It's really impressive. It's such a heavy emphasis on dialogue and outsmarting different characters and information. It's all set in this one town. It goes in so many different directions. The fucking conspiracy that's going on in this one town is so, like, it goes so deep. I was really impressed by the lead actor in this. He's definitely a rising star. His character was this utterly calm and collected badass who could easily take people out but doesn't at times, kind of waits for the perfect opportunity. His last resort is violence if he really needs to do it. The combat's really like feasibly presented. Obviously all film combat is exaggerated to some extent, but this felt really like something you'd see a real, I don't know, SAS person do, like real army military maneuvers. Like when he's getting shot at from 100 different angles, the way he avoids getting killed, it doesn't feel like bullshit. It feels like the way he's doing it feels like, I can see why he survived that. I'd recommend this to anyone. I'm going to put it in great. It's not like this amazing masterpiece that has so much to say about society, is like amazing social commentary and has this profound message. It's just a really well written film. Yeah, it's going in great. It's kind of one of the best films of the year just for the writing alone, which is awesome. I think that's really cool. SpongeBob, whatever, Bikini Bottom, Saving Private Ryan. Oh, I don't know what the fuck it's called. This is awful. It's inconsequential, fucking pointless movie. Didn't need to exist. It's made by people that don't know what SpongeBob is. Fuck 'em. It's fucking awful. It's unfunny. It's bland. It's crass. The animation looks cheap as shit. It sucks. It's all janky and crap. It's horrible. It's going in terrible. You don't make inconsequential SpongeBob films. You don't use this franchise to make inconsequential shit. Everything that SpongeBob is has to be kino and avant-garde. This might be the worst film of the year because it's cynical and it's poorly made. It's just, yeah, fuck you. SpongeBob isn't even funny in this. He's making shit puns all the time. We get to meet Sandy Cheeks' family. It's fucking bullshit. Snack Shark. Here we go. Snack Shark. I keep saying Snack Shark. What am I saying? Now, how do I describe Snack Shark? Like, I could say it's a Richard Linklater-esque hangout film that doesn't really exist anymore in the current climate of cinema. Maybe that is a good description. It's just about two teenage friends, like during the summer, who open up a snack shack to earn money to do cool stuff. They're saving up for something. I can't remember though. I don't remember all of this shit, man. I've watched fucking 50 films this year. It follows their friendship. There's a love interest. It's just like a film you'd see on the TV when you were like a teenager, and just keep it on and go, you know what, by the end you were like, that was nice, that was a good film. No world-ending events. It's just a basic comedy drama. I guess what elevates it from being just like a bland teen comedy is that the characters are really likeable and unique. It's got the guy from The Fabelmans as one of the boys, and he's awesome in this. Really good performance, giving it his all. I love when people give like a really good performance in like a simple, non-Oscar baity film, because this friendship is so well depicted, because the characters are so strong. It has a really firm, solid heart. Easy watch, but in a good way. It's not like inoffensive. It's nice, chilled out, feel good, but also has a fair share of weight to it, a bit of sadness. Big sad. Definitely deserves to be in good. Yeah, easy decision. All you need is the characters, and that holds your attention for the whole time. Yeah, go watch it. It's like such a change of pace compared to like the modern climate where everything's kind of like a fucking artsy horror film or a Marvel movie.
We're gonna be rolling in so much fucking dough this summer.
Spaceman. This is a Netflix film with Adam Sandler. I don't know if this is part of the contract he made, that 5-film contract. It might be another one of those. Adam Sandler's in a lot of Netflix films. It's because he did like a 10-film contract or something. Now this is basically a slow, quiet space film character study about isolation. It's sort of like Moon or Ad Astra, whatever it's called. It's somber, it's introspective. Whilst watching, I did enjoy it. It kept me engaged for most of it. But the thing is, it never cements its own identity. Like, you can always feel the presence of its influences, I guess, because it is so similar to films that came before. It's like Diet Moon or Diet High Life. It's just, there's so many artsy, introspective space films about loneliness and shit. However, I did enjoy the dynamic between Adam Sandler and Paul Dano's Spider. I think that was really nice. I was engaged. Like, I fucked with it for whilst it was on. I fucked with all the themes it was trying to go for. Just not that unique overall. And Adam Sandler does half-arse the performance in certain areas, and you'll say, oh well, he's this jaded, isolated, tired guy who's dead sleepy. He's supposed to be like that. He's supposed to have no energy. I think Adam Sandler used that as an excuse just to kind of phone it in a little bit. Not all the time, but just sometimes he's just giving, like, I don't know, half-arsed line deliveries. He doesn't really feel like his heart's in it, but he's supposed to be disaffected, so maybe I'm wrong, but no, I think there's kind of a bad performance there, or just a spotty performance. And there's like one particular scene where he's on the phone, which is just like, you're supposed to be like in a like an emotional state, and it's not believable at all. It's like you're taking the piss, like you're on SNL or something. I'm gonna put Spaceman in mediocre. It's the best film in this bracket. It's the strongest film in my opinion, but yeah, it's unfortunate that I gotta do it, but it doesn't really deserve to be indecent. And wasted potential, I mean, like, it didn't really have any potential per se. Well, every film's got potential, but you know what I mean. Yeah, we're just fucking spoilt for slow, introspective films set in space, aren't we? Speak No Evil, I reviewed this when it came out. It's a remake of a foreign film, but I haven't seen the original. It's just a horror thriller about, like, kind of like a human horror thriller. You know, there's no do we call it human horror thriller because there's no monsters in it? I don't know. Psychological, that's it, psychological horror. Yeah, fucking hell, forgot the word there for a minute. So it's about this couple who have a daughter. They're on holiday somewhere in Europe, I think, I can't remember. They come across another family who have this young boy. James McAvoy is the dad, and they become friends because James McAvoy and this woman and his wife are very kind of likeable, very affable, very charismatic. James McAvoy then invites the main couple to his like countryside home that's somewhere in the West Country. Yeah, again, I've said this like 600 times in this video, but it's a simple horror film, simple premise. It's all in the execution. Is the execution good? Yeah, it is. It's not like great or anything, it's just effective. I was entertained, I felt tension, I felt fear on behalf of the main characters. I love horror or just tense scenes that are all based on weird conversations. That's always awesome to sit through, and there's a lot of scenes of that in this. Also, because there's nothing supernatural about the horror, it's even more terrifying, I suppose, because this could potentially happen. Yeah, as you get older, I find that the evil of other humans becomes the thing that you fear. Yeah, shit like this where you feel trapped in this place with these fucking nutters, that really gets to me, so I enjoyed this a lot. High decent, maybe. James McAvoy's brilliant in it as well. So is everyone, really. There's no bad performances in here. There's some awesome gore at the end that kind of comes at a triumphant moment. And also it is kind of like a rare thing when a remake of like a foreign film, like an American or English remake of a foreign film, is still pretty good. Yeah, solid character-based, tense horror. I'm gonna put it in decent, but it's high decent. It's maybe the highest decent film. It's the best decent film, maybe. I think it's better than Oddity. Maybe. You see, this is the problem, like, who knows? But comparing film to film, it's just fucking stupid. Like, every film is different. Don't go to sleep tonight. YouTube fan film up next. Stalker 2, Shadow of the Zone. Shadow of the Bone, more like. No, this isn't a sequel to the 1979 Stalker film by Andrei Tarkovsky. This is a fan film of the Stalker video game, which isn't a sequel to the Stalker film from 1979 either. It's like a loose adaptation thing. It's a video game, it's different. This is a fan film of the video game, which I haven't played. And it's actually produced, I think YouTuber Wendigoon had his finger in this pie. It's like a film he was like promoting on his channel, and that's how I heard about it. I was interested to see if it was good because like Wendigoon seemed really proud of it, and like he was really happy about it. And you know, I don't want to like shit on him because, you know, he's made a film, he's used his money to fund an artistic project. Unfortunately, this fucking sucked. Yeah, this is ass. It's going terrible, man. It's your typical video game fan film with no personality. A bunch of military dudes in the woods with guns shooting at stuff and being like, oh yeah, we need to get there, we need to get to extraction point. Has this cold, undersaturated colour palette because it's the grittiness of the warfare, you know what I mean? This film's for boys. There's a few expositional scenes about the world and themes to try and give this film a sense of meaning. Lots of lackluster action scenes with a bunch of shooting and fake blood. I really just didn't need to see this. It's on YouTube. If you want to go see it, it's free on YouTube. The only positive I can think of is that the lead actor is okay. He wasn't awful. Like, surprisingly, he wasn't awful. Like, you think these kind of films, he's like, what's going on? He gave a semi-decent, feasible performance. You know, he was decent. The film is a nothing burger. It's forgettable and of no consequence. It's easily terrible. Not Todd Phillips tier, though, because only one film is reserved for that.
Our mission is to reconnoiter the signal, acquire intelligence, and if possible, sabotage it.
Trap, M. Night Shyamalan film. I already made a video about this. Not a good film by any means, but kind of fun and amusing in this B-movie-esque way, sort of entertaining. I didn't hate it, I was amused watching it, but it's a dumb, stupid film, but the dumber it is, the funnier it is for me, the more entertaining it is. Josh Hartnett gives a funny B-movie-esque performance, very hammy and silly, but where's it really going to go, though? It's going to go mediocre, it belongs there. Silly acting, silly dialogue, but it's not too long. The Apprentice is the Donald Trump biopic starring Sebastian Stan. What's this one going to be about? I saw the trailer for this and I saw like critics' quotations saying, oh, it's a scathing critique or it's a villain origin story. I'm like, okay, it kind of put me off because it's like I want a objective showcase of who Donald Trump is. I know there's like one side of the population that's got like a huge hate boner for him, and I don't know how rational that is or not, but it kind of seems irrational. Ignoring accuracy and doing the same thing I did with Back to Black, where we just say, okay, this might be like a really disrespectful, inaccurate film, but as a movie, is it any good? It's okay. The performances by Jeremy Strong and Sebastian Stan are the best parts about this film. I love watching Jeremy Strong act. He's so fucking awesome. He's like playing this horrible sociopathic dude in this. He nails it. Honestly, he deserves an Oscar for it, really, but it's not going to get Oscar nominated because it's just one of those kind of films. It's not been chosen to be one of the contenders this year. That's how it works. There's like 15 films that get chosen to be nominated for all the different categories. This isn't one of them. I was semi-engaged for the first 30 minutes, but it kind of just turns out to be a bland, true story biopic with not that much flair. There is some attempt at style, like it's shot with different aspect ratios in the different time periods, like 70s to 80s. I think it changes to VHS at one point, and I appreciate that stylistically, but again, it is just a stylistic choice. The story is just a basic rags to riches, and then like the downfall because he becomes a bad person near the end. It's just not that compelling. Really unspecial movie. I did appreciate that it was all shot on film and it had this gritty vibe to it. That was cool, but again, that's just like an aesthetical thing, all surface level. Again, performance is really good, but in service of paper-thin characters because they just weren't that well written. Even if Trump is as bad as they say, he's still a boring villain in a one-dimensional fashion. Like, if he's truly evil, then he still needs to be presented in a three-dimensionally evil way to make it interesting, and they didn't in this. I don't think Trump's evil, by the way. I don't think Trump laughs at dying AIDS patients. Why is it going indecent? I'm not putting it in there. I'm putting it in, like, mediocre. Morally, it is maybe in one of these tiers, even terrible. Bad. Maybe even Todd Phillips, just because of the fucking overt fucking I'm an asshole, sorry. But overall, it is just a mediocre film if we ignore the moral implications. What I mean by that, by the way, is that the way it depicts Trump in this is so cynical that it better be 100% accurate, which I don't really think it is. I've got a gut feeling that this is just someone with an axe to grind being like, I told you he's a terrible guy. There's a scene where he rapes his wife and it's like, that's a wild accusation. That's a serious fucking accusation, man. We can make a film that humanises Joker, but we just can't do that with Donald Trump. We can't choose empathy, can we? It's got to be a scathing fucking critique. Yeah, I hate one-dimensionality. If I was making a Donald Trump film, I mean any film about a real person, I'd want to do it objectively. Anyway, The Apprentice, Todd Phillips made it. Fuck it. It's going in there. And sorry, like politically, I try and stay nuanced, but and I know Trump is one of these people, but I just can't believe, I see the storytelling of The Apprentice and I go, it feels so disingenuous. Sorry, it just gives me the ick. It has such an obvious agenda and an axe to grind. It's so pointed. It's toxic. Next up, Saoirse Ronan in The Outrun, which is a film about alcohol addiction or getting over alcoholism. Like kind of in the rehab stage. The premise, Saoirse Ronan has just come out of rehab and now she's gone cold turkey and she's gone up to Orkney, which is a remote island north of Scotland, and she's basically there to kind of like try and get away from everything, like the temptations of the city where she was previously situated in. It's just a great character piece where you're watching this person try and fix up her life and move on from all of the shit she's been through. It's a rough film, it's quite a miserable film, but it's also very atmospheric and engaging. The tone is heavily influenced by the location, like it's this grey island, it's always raining, it's always extremely extremely windy and cold, that completely sets the scene. But that's not to say that it's all miserable, because as a location, it's a lovely part of nature. It's one of those films where the setting is its own character, definitely. Very atmospheric for that. I love the way it depicts her addiction and the way she treats people, like how horribly you treat people when you're pissed up like that. I think the characters and the dialogue is extremely realistic and believable and authentic. I talk a lot about naturalistic acting on my channel, and this is another example of one of those. Just, yeah, completely just brilliant. It's quite a meaty film. I think it's just over 2 hours, and by the end you really feel like you've been on a journey with this character. And for that, because I spent so much time with this character and she was so heavily fleshed out, of all the films I saw this year, this was one of the most affecting. Addiction is just one of those subject matters that really resonates with me when I see it depicted in film. This is just a great film, so it's going in great. Saoirse Ronan deserves an award for this. She's much better in this than she was in Blitz. I'm not saying she's bad in Blitz, but it's such a better film through and through. Such a meaty performance. It's just like, it's weird it's kind of got overlooked. It came out near the same time as Joker, so you had inauthentic character drama, extremely authentic character drama, bad acting, good acting, non-nuanced, tasteless, nuanced and tasteful, like completely contrasting things. We all should have gone seen fucking Outrun. Yeah, it is one of my favourites of the year. It's really good, and yeah, recommend it to anyone. There's no sex in it, so grandma can see it. Also, it's just a wonderful showcase of Orkney. My parents have been to Orkney a few times, and I recommended it to them because like they need to see it. I've never been though. You get a visceral feel of the place. You get extremely immersed in the location.
So how long you been sober?
63 days.
It never gets easy.
The Room Next Door. This film loves the smell of its own farts. Fuck this film. It's fucking hippie bread tuber shit. No, I'm joking. I'm sure this film has themes. I'm sure it provides an interesting discussion on something, but when it comes to execution, it sucks. I really don't like the performances by Julianne Moore and Tilda Swinton in this, which is surprising because they're two world-class actresses. I found their dialogue and just their characters overall really sanctimonious and flowery and like, oh, isn't it just wonderful, and just really like, you just love smelling your own farts. The performances were quite robotic and alienating for how pseudo profound they were, like the levels of pseudo intellectualism, like no one talks like this. I really didn't connect with these characters, and I really just didn't find what they had to say interesting. I wanted to like this was one of the artsy films, like I was like, oh, it's festival fucking season, we're getting all the festival films, the cool films, and I watched this and I was like, what the fuck was that? Because they didn't feel human in the way they talked and the way they acted when they did have these philosophical discussions. You just didn't feel anything, you weren't interested. Honestly, part of me thought it was like a mick take of these kinds of people, like these people who just like, yeah, oh well, yes, isn't the universe just something, isn't it? I'm all for films where the dialogue is all committed to just having this philosophical discussion, like with I'm thinking of ending things, but this, it just disappears up its own arse, and I wasn't interested to engage with its themes. And maybe I'm being surface level, like you didn't look past the silly acting and you didn't look at the themes, and sure, but I didn't want to. There are other films that have themes that also have engaging presentation. I don't believe that these characters are real people. I'm not saying they don't exist, I'm not saying people like this don't exist, but if I met people like this in real life, I'd run away. It's like uncanny almost, like I don't know, get away from me. Couldn't resonate with Julianne Moore and Tilda Swinton. That's fucking saying something. This film was directed by Pedro Almodovar, who previously directed Pain and Glory, which is an amazing film actually. I really like that film. This is apparently his first film in English language, and I have a personal theory that that's why the dialogue feels so weird and jarring, is because things were lost in translation. Maybe this seemed good on paper to him or something happened, but I don't know. When I found out this was his first film in English and that he was typically a Spanish filmmaker, it all kind of clicked into place. It might just be a me thing, it might be subjective. He's obviously a very talented filmmaker, but I don't know, this film didn't work for me at all. Didn't get anything out of it. But yeah, Pedro, if you're watching this is not how people talk. Get good. I am tempted to put this in bad because even like it was bordering on an unpleasant experience. Bad seems so harsh though, like surely it's better than Deadpool and Wolverine, right? I don't know, I'm not even compelled to say that even, because mediocre implies that it's competent but just boring and bland. This had acting that didn't work and dialogue that didn't work. It's definitely flawed, but then again so is Trap and Deadpool and Wolverine. Wasted potential maybe because it's a great director. Should we settle? I'll settle for that, fuck it, yeah. Wasted potential. Maybe I've just watched too many of these artsy films and I'm just done with them now, I don't know. Maybe I'm just jaded. I can't do the introspective films where it's just people talking about philosophy for 2 hours. Ugh, sad times. Okay, this is a big one. The Substance. We've all been waiting for this. What do I think of this? You already know. I did a review on it, so go watch that, really. This is going to be brief. Objectively, The Substance is an exceptional body horror that really does gross you out. It doesn't achieve anything that prior body horror films like The Thing or The Fly have already achieved. It's not necessarily groundbreaking. Does it need to be? Maybe not. It's just another great addition in that Hall of Fame. It really is up there, at least on like a body horror level. Has an overt but concise message about beauty standards and the like, but it's mostly just carried by the direction and Demi Moore's amazing performance. Margaret Qualley's really good in it too, but Demi Moore fucking steals the show. I hope she gets an Oscar for this, that'd be great. I liked dissecting the themes and the specific messages it had to say about like loving yourself, at least that's how I interpreted it, like do not abuse your older self. Like literally older and younger are two separate people in this. It's cool. It's a simple metaphor, but yeah, I like it. It has maybe the best sound design of the entire year, and I only really say that because it's very noticeable sound design. It's very loud and intrusive, but intentionally so. But it's great. It's really effective at creating this disgusting, domineering, sinister tone. I'm not putting it in Bacho though. There are elements to it that deserve to go in Bacho, but I think for now I'm going to put it in great. Yeah. Just because, not necessarily doing anything that other films haven't done prior to it, but I give it like perfect scores, like 5 out of 5, 9 out of 10, that kind of ballpark. Wild Robot, this is another film by DreamWorks, notably I think the first film after Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, which had a big change up in the animation. The animation was actually like inspired and good and beautiful. This also has beautiful animation, and it has very likeable characters too. However, it is just kind of an amalgamation of other Pixar films that have come before it. It's very familiar, it's very unoriginal, it feels very tropey. The emotional beats didn't feel that authentic to me because of how derivative it felt. Yeah, I'm putting it mediocre. There are so many films like by Disney or Pixar or DreamWorks that are like really well animated, gorgeous animation, but just the story's kind of meh. You know, these kids' films can have a lot of insincere platitudes in them. Wallace and Gromit, Vengeance Most Fowl. Watch this on Christmas Day. The best way to watch it. I'm so glad I did. It's just so like it's the best. It's great. It's traditional. Cauliflower is traditional. Watched it with the family. Mum fell asleep because she was knackered from all the cooking. That's just Christmas in it. Just all the old. I shouldn't say old, but all like the parents fall asleep because they've done all the fucking work. I should probably help. You know what I mean? I'm fucking 25. I should probably start to learn to cook. Maybe. But I'm busy. Now this is more so like a TV special than an actual like eventful movie, so to speak, which I guess is appropriate because it's a sequel to another TV special. The Wrong Trousers, I believe, isn't it? Feathers McGraw returns, and yeah, you could say it's nostalgia bait. It's just using stuff from the past. But just as a film, Vengeance Most Fowl was really well made in the typical Aardman fashion. There's so much effort that goes into it, so much like amazing art direction and choreography. All of the machinery, like the in-universe machinery, is so cool and complicated. The action set pieces are amazing too, and charming and funny, all at the same time. It is just a solid Wallace and Gromit film, and I'm putting it in decent. I love how quintessentially Yorkshire all of the Wallace and Gromit films are as well. It's great. It's a great snapshot into that culture, just for all you Americans. Just watch Wallace and Gromit, all of them, please. It's my vintage boot collection! However, I will take this time to briefly compare that brief review I just did of Vengeance Most Fowl to the kind of retrospective review I did on Chicken Run 2. Because one of my biggest complaints with Chicken Run 2 is that it just felt inconsequential, which it did. It felt like a film that was just, oh, it's a sequel, here you go. The stakes don't really feel real. It doesn't feel like a movie like the first Chicken Run did, where it's like, we really need to escape. And Vengeance Most Fowl is quite similar to that, but I guess it just didn't bother me as much because I'm used to consuming Wallace and Gromit media in this kind of holiday special format. It doesn't necessarily need to be this like, oh my god, all-encompassing, it needs to be huge. But then again, comparing Vengeance Most Foul to Curse of the Were-Rabbit, it ain't got shit on that film. Like, that film is epic and cool and has like really strong emotional beats and feels like the Wallace and Gromit movie. This doesn't really feel like that. And Chicken Run 2 didn't feel like a movie. It felt like, oh, here's a Chicken Run film. Oh, there's a few other shenanigans. Here's some more jokes, more chicken jokes, you know. Inconsequential. That's the word of the day. Hello there. Thank you to the patrons. Thank you, Matt Delaney. Thank you, Mason Lydon. Thank you, DF. Thank you, Doug Gem. Thank you, Oh I'm Dean. Thank you, Magical Weasel.